hot topic since last week. President Prabowo Subianto has officially launched a new sovereign wealth fund, Danantara, which will manage total assets worth $900 billion in a ceremony held at the State Palace in Jakarta last week with the presence of his two predecessors, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono and Joko Widodo.
The launch of Daya Ana Gata Nusantara or Danantara is the latest initiative conducted by President Prabowo to meet his ambitious target to achieve an economic growth of 8% under his first 5-year term. In his speech at the launch of the country's second sovereign wealth funds on Monday, February the 24th, President Prabowo said that Danantara is not just a mere institution that manages investment, but also as instruments to drives national development. Danantara is the country's second sovereign wealth fund after the Indonesia Investment Authority, or INA, which was established during President Jokowi's term. INA may eventually be integrated into Danantara, further consolidating the government's investment management strategy. The President's Special Advisor for Economic Affairs and National Development, Bambang Brojonegoro, said Danantara will manage all state-owned enterprises starting March 2025. Among the state-owned enterprises that will be placed under Danantara are Bank Mandiri, Bank Rakyat Indonesia, and Bank Negara Indonesia, as well as state electricity utility, Perusahaan Listrik Negara, oil and gas company Pertamina, Telkom Indonesia, and mining industry Indonesia, which owns gold, coal, and nickel mines. President Prabowo has appointed Rosan Roslani, Pandu Syahrir, and Doni Oskaria to lead the newly launched Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is expected to manage over $900 billion in state assets and oversee an initial $20 billion investment in strategic industries. Rosan, the founder of Capital Advisors and Investment Minister, has been named as Chief Executive Officer. Pandu, an investor specializing in energy and technology, as the Chief Investment Officer, and Doni, currently Deputy Minister of State-Owned Enterprises, as the Chief Operating Officer. The leadership team will work under the supervision of Erick Thohir, the State-Owned Enterprises Minister, who chairs Danantara's supervisory board alongside Vice Chairman Mulyaman Hadad. The launch, which came amid nationwide student protests against President Prabowo's recent budget cuts, also aimed at boosting economic growth by injecting larger parts of state savings worth up to 306 trillion rupiah, about $25 billion obtained from the government's austerity measures into Danantara. A number of economic analysts consider the establishment of Danantara as a good initiative in managing state assets and become an economic driver similar to major global sovereign wealth funds such as Singapore and Khazanah of Malaysia. However, many other economists have also raised their concern about the future of the new sovereign wealth funds because if it is mismanaged, it can cause a catastrophe in the national economy. In fact, the financial market also gave a negative response to the launch of Danantara. Rupiah and main price index at the Indonesian Stock Exchange dropped significantly following its launch. But we are sure with the appointment of experienced professionals and supervisors as unquestionable integrity, Danantara can become a catalyst in improving efficiency, transparency, and accountability in managing state assets so that they can become a major driver to achieve high economic growth and to improve the welfare of the people.
Well, President Prabowo Subianto recently launched new sovereign wealth fund BPI Danantara, which will be tasked to consolidate the country's state-owned enterprises and to also invest state assets in strategic economic sectors. Our guest on Zoom today, Bapak Fithra Faisal Hastiadi, is a senior economist at Samuel Sekuritas Indonesia. He will talk about the importance of the new investment agency in managing the state assets. Hello, Pak Fithra.
Hello, Mbak Lisa.
Hello, Pak Fithra. First of all, President Prabowo Subianto has said that the newly launched sovereign wealth fund Danantara is not going to be just an investment agency, but also a catalyst of the country's economic growth. Now, in your opinion, Pak Fithra, why is this new investment agency considered very, very important?
Yeah, it's quite important because, as we already know that the government is set to have a very ambitious target of reaching 8% of economic growth, right? So as I recall from our previous meeting, our previous discussion, I mentioned to you also the investment needs, yeah, to reach the 8% growth. So we need at least 10,000 trillion of rupees, around 700 billion of US dollar. So if you do the same thing but expect different result, it's insanity, right? So it's a famous quote by Albert Einstein. So we need an out-of-the-box approach, which is in a way that Danantara is actually slowly becoming an out-of-the-box approach. We need to reach 8% growth, but we need outside of the box thinking, because if we are doing the same, so we cannot actually expect to grow more than 5%. So last year, we only managed to grasp 5.03%. So this year is about 5.2%. So we need the big push. So if we can see the total asset under management under Danantara is about 14,000 trillion of rupiahs. It's actually more than our investment needs. But of course, this is not liquid. We need to match this with liquidity. So we need to also see what happened with other countries when they manage their state-owned enterprises. Okay, Temasek and Kasana is actually one that we can refer to, but I think the one that have some kind of the close similarity with us is the SASAC China, the one that supervised and controlled the state-owned companies since 2003. So in 2003, they only managed to have 29 billion of US dollar as their initial capital. And then within 20 years, in 2023, they managed to grasp 329 billion of US dollar. It's actually more than 1,000% increase within 20 years. And this is the way that we're going to see Danantara in the future.
One of the sources of funds for Danantara is the dividends from state-owned enterprises, meaning that it will reduce the government's non-tax incomes and it will also create a big hole in the state budget. With such a mechanism, the presence of Danantara will also undermine the state budget. What do you think about such an opinion?
Yes, this is also becoming the market concern. That is why we also see that market is going red, yeah, because of the potential deficit of the national budget. Because potentially speaking, the national budget can have foregone earnings, yeah, from the dividend. Last year, we had 85 trillion of rupiahs coming from the state-owned enterprises dividend coming to the state budget. So in a way that this year we might actually lose that amount of money, yeah, so that potentially increase our national budget deficit. So there are ways to actually overcome this. One is to do some kind of the optimization of the revenue side, yeah, from the government to increase the tax reform and so on and so forth. But I'm sure that this is actually a very difficult task. Another way to do it is to have government efficiency in terms of spending. So we need to carefully set the spending, yeah, from the government to be in several selected sectors. So in a way that we can actually manage the potential deficit, the widening deficit this year. But I think this only happened in the first year, at the initial year when we established Danantara, because we need the money to be invested, right? So first coming from the dividend, but later the dividend will be more productive, so we can have some kind of a future payment, yeah, from Danantara coming also to national budget or APBN. So in a way that we might lose some in the short run, but we may gain more in the future.
Well, we are certainly having a lot of expectation from Danantara towards our growth in economy. Now, there are also concerns that Danantara could be a risky loophole because a legal clause that exempts its leaders from accountability for the losses. What do you think about such fears?
So yeah, I think this is also quite normal, yeah, for the market to have some concern of these kind of issue. But actually, in every investment, there are risks, right? So as long as the investment are prudent, justified, it's okay to have risk and to have even loss, right? So last time we had this kind of old regulation that is not allowing the corporates, the state-owned companies, to invest in a more productive and potentially higher return sectors, because if they are losing from the investment, they can be actually subject to the law. Yeah, they're not actually able to increase, to expand, because of that binding law. But with this alteration in the law, yeah, we have now the new law of the state-owned enterprises. Now Danantara is allowed, yeah, to do some kind of investment, although it can be risky and can be actually gaining loss, yeah, in the future. But as long as it is justified, it's okay. High risk, high return, right? But it's not necessarily that if fraud is happening under Danantara Corporation, they're not able, or the law cannot touch them. So they are not untouchable. They should. No one is untouchable in this country, even the Danantara officers. So in a way that they are doing this good corporate governance, if they are risky, so and they have flaws, it's okay. But if they are doing fraud, they are actually subject to the law. So that's actually the way to see it. Although, yeah, people or the market may have some kind of different perspective, yeah, but actually they are not untouchable. They are also subject to the Indonesian law.
All right, Pak Fithra, thank you so much for enlightening us with more information about Danantara, and thank you for being on Economic Outlook today. That was Bapak Fithra Faisal Hastiadi, Senior Economist at Samuel Sekuritas Indonesia. Happy to see you, and we'll have you back again on the show next time. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.